I lost 20 pounds in 6 months only eating once a day, without counting calories. This is my experience that hopefully will help you lose weight too. I injured my left shoulder in July 2025 and thought about finally doing a cutting phase because there was no point in keeping my body fat of around 25% with such injury. I started my cutting phase or lost weight phase in the middle of August 2025 and finished it on the 9th of January 2026. 1 meal per day or OMAD is a really simple way to lose weight. Most popular diets, or at least the most controversial ones, tend to completely change what you eat along with the time you eat and the amount you eat. However, changing what you eat seems just like a recipe to fail. If you completely change what you eat, then when you stop the diet and eat like you used to, you will gain all the weight back. This also applies to highly aggressive or fast diets. Of course, if you are morbidly obese, your diet is probably full of crap that needs to be changed. However, I think most people only need to stop eating a few things in order to lose weight. They don't need to drastically change what they eat. In my case, when you eat once per day, most often than not, so as long as you don't eat highly caloric processed foods, you will be able to lose weight without counting calories. This is because when you limit the times you eat to only once per day, it will be really hard to eat more calories than your body needs in one sitting if you are eating whole foods. Therefore, you can eat whatever you want as long as it is not highly processed food. Basically, you will consume less calories than your body needs. For the time you're not eating in the whole day, you will enter a sort of fasting of 23 hours. After 8 hours of not eating, your body will start using your fat as energy. Not only that, but your relationship with food will not be bad, because you will always feel satisfied when you finally eat. Also, because this diet doesn't restrict you from any sort of whole foods, you don't become really picky with anything. This is a weird video, because I am not telling you what to eat, like most losing weight videos will. This is what you are going to do. First, you're going to choose an hour to eat, most preferably dinner time. At least that was what I did. You will heavily reduce any high processed foods from your diet, sodas, cookies, any factory-made junk food, cakes, etc. You actually don't need to totally eliminate this from your diet. You will be able to sometimes eat foods like ice cream. Just know that you will probably not lose weight that day and take the trade-off only for that day. And also, if you want to eat them, just eat a little after you eat your real dinner. I was on this diet during the holidays and I still could eat what everybody was eating. Number 3. Most of your diet needs to be whole foods. Rice, meats, vegetables, pasta, bread, fish, fruits, foods like that. At first glance, some of these whole foods are highly caloric. However, the difference between highly caloric whole foods and highly caloric processed junk food is that the whole food is actually going to make you satiated and it is filled with micronutrients, which means that in order to feel satisfied, you will need to eat more processed junk food, whereas in order to feel satisfied, you won't need to eat as much whole foods. This is partially why I am against fitness cookbooks. Most of these cookbooks will completely change what you eat and fill you with non-caloric food that does not have a lot of micronutrients. Just eat like a human being. Number 4. Weigh yourself every morning, just so you keep track of your weight. 5. Be aware of calories. I never counted calories in the sense that I counted every single one, and also I don't think you need to because I didn't. I don't know how many calories I need to maintain my body weight. I also don't know how many calories I need to be in a calorie deficit. I also don't know how many calories I need to be in a calorie surplus. And I still was able to lose 20 pounds. However, it is still good to be aware of how many calories the foods you eat have. I personally use calories per 100 grams. If you want to know how many calories a food has, just search on Google how many calories it has per 100 grams. For example, potatoes are around 80 calories per 100 grams. Rice has 130 calories. Bread has 260 calories. Pasta has 130 calories. Most vegetables are really low calories compared to these whole foods, so you don't really need to know their calories per 100 grams. When it comes to meat, the high calorie of beef is offset by the feeling of satiation that it gives you along with the high micronutrients. Even if it's highly caloric, it also has a lot of nutrients and you won't really eat a lot of it. Just as a process of elimination, you must think these two questions. Is it a whole food? Is the calories per 100 grams higher than 200 calories? If it is a whole food and the calories are high, then it will satiate you and it is fine eating it, unless something very specific like sunflower seeds. If it is not a whole food and the calories are high, then it will not satiate you, which means that you will eat a lot of it, and it is probably not fine eating it. If it is not a whole food and the calories are low, it is probably fine eating it. It is good to take this into consideration. 6. Don't be scared of feeling satiated. What makes this diet great is that you always get to feel satiated at the end of the day and you don't crave anything after. You can eat until you feel satisfied and still lose weight. Although it will be great to differentiate the feeling of your stomach being completely full and the feeling of satiation. How sustainable is this diet? First off, it is good to understand that this is something temporal. It is not going to be how you live. With this in mind, it is good understanding that weight loss is not something pretty. It is not a walk in the park. The leaner you are, the harder it will be. On the other hand, when you are high body fat, I will say it is easier. At least the feeling of being on the diet itself is easier. Obviously, the less body fat you have, the harder it will be to reduce your fat because it is necessary for your body to function. Whereas if you are fat, you have a lot of reserves and your body doesn't need to hold on to them. If you have high body fat, the difficult thing will be to overcome the bad habits that make you fat. There are ways to make your weight loss harder and unreasonable, but I think that eating once per day is very reasonable and sustainable. The first week, your energy levels are probably going to be either low or fine. It also depends if you move a lot. The first few days are probably the hardest. As you keep following the diet, it is going to become easier. Momentum and commitment are your friends. The more time you're following the diet, the easier it becomes to actually do it, unless you start entering 12% body fat. Your body does get used to eating once per day. There are times where you're going to be hungry, but they go away quickly. It is not persistent, probably because your body will start fasting and using your fat as energy. The absolute worst mistake you can do is breaking the commitment and momentum of this diet. As a personal experience, if you decide to eat twice per day on a random day, the hunger is way worse and also stronger. Also, your energy levels are going to be worse, or at least it was for me. Probably because if you eat twice per day or snack frequently, you never get to enter a fasting state. If you do calisthenics or weightlifting, it will affect your absolute strength, like any calorie deficit would. I noticed a positive benefit in my relative pulling strength. Basically, pull-ups felt easier. The front lever also felt a bit easier. My bodyweight pushing strength, on the other hand, was affected by my left shoulder injury. So personally, I cannot say truly if my body weight pushing strength will have become easier. However, this was during the cut itself, not after. In this case, I also noticed that as you lose weight, you cannot do as much frequency or volume. So just reduce some of your sets or increase your rest days if necessary. On average, I was losing around 3 pounds per month. It sounds slow and ineffective, but it was constant. In the big picture, 3.3 pounds per month multiplied by 6 months is 20 pounds of pure fat. Change is slow. Day by day you might not see changes, but it is the collection of those little changes that make a significant change. If you face a plateau or your weight stays the same, just keep going or increase your cardio a bit. I went from 155 pounds with around 25% body fat to 135 pounds with around 12% body fat. For now, it has been like 2 or 3 days since I stopped 1 meal per day, and there is no significant rebound. Also because I really wasn't shredded. If I was shredded, I would probably have seen a bigger rebound. I stopped because I didn't see a reason as to why I should be lower body fat than currently, other than looking good for the camera. Also, the leaner I was, the harder it was going to be. To simply maintain, I eat twice per day with moderate portions. I will say the biggest tip I could give you while following this diet is to simply maintain yourself occupied. The more busy you are, the easier it will be. Also, if you want to increase the speed of your weight loss, you should do some light cardio every day for 15 minutes, although it's probably more sustainable to do it every other day than every day. Whether you want to lose weight to see the results of your bulk, or to become healthier, or to be a bit more handsome, I hope my journey and this video has helped you.